Well, it's clearly a new phase in this conflict where the Russian troops are on the defensive, both in the south and in the eastern parts in Donbass. They have been for months trying to seize the town of Bakhmut in Donbass, and they failed to do so. As you heard, they are evacuating now people even from the eastern bank of Dnieper. And in order to compensate for these problems with their fighting capacity, they are attacking Ukrainian civilians. And they are escalating their attacks on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure. Um, Political scientists would call it an escalation trap. In other words, in order to intimidate civilian population, they need to increase the intensity of their attacks and of their violence. But by doing so, they're actually damaging their interests, because with every new attack like the one that just was described by your reporter, the resolve of the Ukrainian people is strengthening. And the support that we receive from the West is going up as well. We now know that Americans will be providing us with advanced surface-to-air missiles, something that they have been for months resisting to do. The Germans have been doing the same in response to these attacks on civilian infrastructure by the Russians. So the Russians are actually shooting themselves in the foot by doing these types of attacks, and they're alienating the very people that they hoped at some point would be supporting them when they arrive.
Anton, Fedyashin, is that something you agree with, that that's the state of the conflict at the moment?
Yes, it's a stalemate. The Russians are making very limited gains in the Donbass. That's the only part that I slightly disagree with in what Sergiy has said. He's absolutely right that the advance has been glacial, but the Russians are pushing towards Bakhmut, and they're on the outskirts of the city. But it is a very tough fight. But in the north, they have stopped the Ukrainian advance after the Ukrainians very successfully liberated a huge chunk of Kharkiv province. And in the south, around Kherson, the rapid Ukrainian offensive has slowed down, but it looks like where everyone's preparing for a major battle, and it's impossible to predict how that will go.